Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of UIW Alumni Corner. I'm your host, Joey Gonzales, and I'm here with graduate alumni Katie Goodman. Katie, plenty of things to say on your resume. Play-by-play and color analyst for SAFC, Austin FC, the Houston Dash as well. So Katie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's so awesome being back here and seeing everything that you guys are still doing. It's really an impressive program.
Was there any changes that you noticed whenever you're coming onto campus today?
It's chilly, a lot chillier than usual for April. And as I see, you guys have an amazing set. I mean, not much has changed. I still remember the smell of the Chick-fil-A as I walk on campus. It's so nice.
Well, Katie, you mentioned back here to UIW. You got your undergrad at Mississippi State, and then you came over here to UIW. So what was the decision? Why did you want to become a Cardinal?
Yeah, well, so the gap between UIW and Mississippi State was actually quite a few years. I graduated from Mississippi State back in 2013, had my undergrad in international business and Spanish, went off and pursued that career in Miami for a little bit, and then I realized it just wasn't really a good fit for me, and then all the years in between there, I was kind of hopping around, trying to really get back to the spot I'm in right now. And so, you know, a couple of years pass, I find my way into sports, and then that's when UIW called me and said, hey, we have this GA program. Are you interested in maybe getting your master's degree, and then you could commentate some games? I was already doing some sports stuff, and so my thought was, you know, actually, when else am I gonna get a degree? I don't want to pay for one, not in this economy. So so I just said, hey, why not? I could use the reps, let's give it a go.
So whenever you're here at UIW, obviously you're on ESPN Plus. Do you have an estimate of how many games you called while you were here?
Gosh, I counted them. I think it was like 70 or 80. I might be wrong. Gosh, I don't know. It was all a blur. I know you can attest because you do the same thing. I mean, one week you're calling 8 games, the next week you're calling 1. It's break, and then you're back to another 8 games. And don't even get me started. Baseball season drives me a wall.
Crossover season, I mean, we were covering men's and women's basketball, baseball, and softball all within the same week. So maybe 7 games in 5 days. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah. Too familiar.
So you talked a little bit about your time at Mississippi State. We can't talk about that without mentioning you were a soccer player growing up. What started your soccer journey, and just how did that kind of develop?
Well, actually, my oldest sister played at Mississippi State, so I grew up watching her play from birth. Like, literally, my parents would bring me out to the soccer field as a newborn. They have pictures of me trying to play when I'm like 2 and 3, and then they started me in club at 4. And so I played since I was 4 years old, went all the way to Mississippi State, just kind of followed in my sister's footsteps, went to a couple of different training camps and programs to vet other schools, and Mississippi State was just it for me. I mean, I love the kindness and the culture. It's a beautiful, beautiful campus, and it just felt like a good fit. It also had the communications program, which what I had originally wanted to do, and then I switched to international business later.
Who was a better athlete, you or your sister?
Oh my gosh. She did track, cross country, and soccer while she was there. I mean, she's just a brick house. She really is. I also did cross country and track in high school, but by the time I got to college, they said, nah, you have to pick one. You can't do multiple, but she was so fast. She has all these like awesome photos of her, like action shots and posters and, you know, magazine covers. And yeah, so she was really incredible.
Did your sister really help you grow into the athlete and the person you are today?
Absolutely. In fact, I would not have been there if it weren't for her. She's the one who took me to soccer camps. She helped me with my FAFSA. I had older parents, and so at the time, they just, you know, things had changed in the recruiting process. It was completely different than when she had gone to college. You know, the opportunities weren't as abundant when she went in. She was actually the first program ever at Mississippi State women's soccer, and she was the captain. Yeah, and so whenever I started growing up and started playing and really well at the high school level, she said, okay, we can't just die here. So she herself drove me all over the southern half of the United States, from LSU to Texas Tech, Mobile, Mississippi State, just to talk to coaches, shake hands, play in front of them, to tournaments. So if it weren't for her, 100% not be sitting here talking to you about any of this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 2 brothers. My older brother currently trained to be a pilot in the Air Force, and I mean, we've always had that close relationship. I've always said that he's my closest friend. Would you say that your sister's one of your closest friends, if not your best friend?
Absolutely my best friend. I'm probably going to get some flack for this from my other sisters. I'm the youngest of 6, so I have 4 sisters and a brother, but this sister's particularly close to me, and you know, you don't forget it when someone takes you under their wing like that and helps to literally shape everything that you are in your career. So yeah, definitely a best friend.
Well, we talked about you playing soccer and your communication studies at Mississippi State, but when did you want to become a broadcaster? At what point in your life did that start at?
Oh man, well it really started in high school. I was doing the morning announcements. They were so rough. I hope those tapes never surface. But
we gotta find those somewhere.
Yeah. Back then they're on these little tiny cassette tapes, so very different than back. I'm aging myself, but anyway. So yeah, that was back then, and then I went to school for 6 months in my communications degree. Switched to international business in Spanish, just had some outside voices trying their best to help me along the way, wanted the best for me. And so I listened and I pivoted. When I got out with my degree, I wasn't really happy with it. So I spent the next couple of years trying to figure out how to get to where I am now. But what came of that was a lot of lifestyle TV. I ended up working at Animal Defense League of Texas. I'd bring dogs on TV, and that's when I knew this is where I should be. I'm living for this. I love everything about production, whether it's on camera or off camera. And then as the years passed, I just kept doing things that would align with that vision. Worked at a production company. I became a correspondent for Ken's 5, contributor, for Ken's 5, teaching yoga on TV, anything I could do to get on camera and get some reps. And then COVID hit, and I was just sitting there twiddling my thumbs, didn't know what to do. Made another pivot, and that's when the San Antonio Athenians put out an announcement that, hey, we're having tryouts, and anybody who wants to join, come out, it's an open tryout. This is 10 years after I had last played soccer at Mississippi State. Wow. I had also taken a medical release, so I shouldn't have been playing at all because I had back surgery, so that's why there was a big gap there. But I said, you know what else am I doing? I'm bored, I miss soccer, I'm gonna see if I can just be involved in some way. I end up making the travel team, we go to nationals, and while I'm there, the league said, hey, we've seen that you've done some TV stuff, would you like to join our YouTube show? And I said, all right, sure. But then the fear set in, because why would anybody care what I have to say? What I had done to show that my opinion matters at all. But what happened was I knew a lot more thought, and people valued that. And I think by seeing that people really valued that, it allowed me to take the next step and to realize, oh duh, why have I waited so long to connect sports with this TV passion? It seems obvious for a lot of people that you would want to go right into it. I think that's what most athletes do, but I think because of how my college career ended, where I had surgery, had to let it go, there's a whole grieving process for young athletes when they have to stop playing. You get a little bitter if you aren't done yet, actually, and I just wasn't done. And that last season with the Athenians, I was 100% done. I was not playing at the level that I used to. I was tired, I was hurting, I hurt myself all over again, but it was worth it because it literally was the leap pad to my career, because after that I got ESPN Radio. I was the co-host of the Saturday Morning Hangover, and I got that through this Rock the Mic challenge that they used to do. So I just showed up and went head to head with those dudes on sports and started talking soccer and Spurs, and all right, cool, come on, we'll take you. And so I felt like a stray cat kind of, and they just kind of took me in, and so that's where I really got some of my foundation. And then the Spurs called and they asked me to do their first ever female broadcast. And then it kept going from there.
Okay, there's so many awesome experiences.
Yeah, sorry, that's a long story.
No, that's exactly what I wanted to know. There's so many awesome experiences that you've had, the Spurs and those who've been able to trust you. And we're going to dive in a lot more, but we'll get ready to step aside. But when we come back, we're going to dive into the Spurs. We're going to talk so much more. So stick around and we'll be right back. You're watching Alumni Corner right here at UIW.
Now, Jamie really needs to start.
I was trying to be succinct as possible.
Professor Richardson? Whatever. It's just not my place to be sticking my nose into other people's businesses just because of some specific.
Maybe she's trying to teach about responsibility.
Tell me why I got a notification from your account from Sandra asking if you wanted to hang out.
Listen.
You were supposed to have dinner with me. Would you rather go hang out with Cassandra? Am I not good enough for you?
No. We have something to work on, okay?
Do you have any plans for the break? No, I don't really have any plans. Just same old, same old. What about you?
I don't have anything, but there's always things I want to do, and I just never end up doing.
I don't have to say something, but I should.
All it takes is one person. If you or someone you know is experiencing emotional abuse, text CONNECT to 741741.
What's my routine? I don't know. I guess I just... Well, I eat healthy and I work out. There is help out there for you, and recovery is possible.
Hello and welcome back to Alumni Corner. Alongside Katie Goodman, I'm Joey Gonzales. And Katie, we've talked a little bit about your journey so far, whether that's playing soccer, whether that was the high school announcement back in the day. But I want to go a little bit more into your resume if we could do so. And I want to start off with as early as the NCAA Men's Final Four, obviously just concluded yesterday with the University of Florida taking down Houston. But you had a chance to announce some of the 64 teams that made the NCAA tournament on Selection Sunday. So what was like being the MC for it?
That was amazing. So it was actually at the Rocket La Cantera. So we had the actual production show going on in the background. And so they brought me in actually to do the women's side. So we had someone else do the men's side, the men's go, and then on the women's side I came in and I gave my breakdown of who I think is going to slide into the brackets, who I think is going to be my top 4. I'm just going to say UConn was my number 1. You heard here first.
Did you pick that big of a wheel?
No, I did not. I am shocked, and I am so happy for Bucher. She's so deserving. When you talk about athletes in their journey, she is one that she's going to be in the books for a while.
Yeah.
She's really the mark of adversity. But anyways, I digress before we go all into all of that. It was an amazing experience. It was cool seeing the crowd. Normally when I do my work, I'm looking into a camera, so I'm not feeling the eyes or the judgments or the woos, and so that was really cool. Just being to kind of word vomit for about 15 minutes my thoughts on the women's Final Four.
As broadcasters, we're so used to just looking at the camera. Was there a level of stress seeing those thousands of people right in front of you?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's also exhilarating, so that's really nice. And it was pretty chill also by the time the women's side came along. And everyone's so friendly in San Antonio. I think at the end of the day, like, everyone just is happy that it's here.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what people notice every time they come to San Antonio is, oh, everyone's so nice, and they let you cut in line. And so, you know, there's no hecklers are coming to this event, thankfully. Everyone's there just to support.
Yeah, the San Antonio does an amazing job with all their events. I mean, just as early as this weekend, I mean, everybody came out in full force there at the Riverwalk. So you also talked about being there at the Rock. Obviously, the Spurs have their new practice facility over there, and you mentioned something in the last half of this of our segment here, and you were part of the Spurs all-female broadcast. This is the third in franchise history, is that correct?
Yeah, so this last one was the third one, but I was also part of the first ever all-female broadcast in the NBA. So that was the one that the Spurs put on. You know, I think when you think that moment, I don't know how I'm going to top that. Like, that's pretty cool. But it's interesting to see over the years, I was just talking to our director about this, of how everybody has developed over that time. You see the nerves, and then you see the calm, and then you just see it get better and better each year. And so I was really feeling in my element this year. It was an incredible experience.
You talked about it getting better every single year. What was the biggest difference you noticed from year 1 to year 3?
Oh gosh. Well, year 1 I was just yapping away, and you know, it was first time ever on a live show. It's a 30-minute show. It's live, and you have to be really succinct. It's not long format. At that time, I was doing a lot of radio and podcasts. I had never commentated a game at that point, and so for me, I thought value was how long can you talk, and really how much can you say in a very short period of time. And so that's something I learned there. And then, you know, as you go on, it's okay, you're getting in reps, you understand what the objective is here, and then now it's, okay, how do I settle those nerves and realize I'm really supposed to be here doing this right now, and I'm here for a reason, you know, and that's when your true confidence comes out, your true authenticity comes out, and that's when things start really getting good.
One of the broadcasters that was alongside it was Michelle Beadle. I followed her growing up throughout the years, back to her days on Sports Nation, on ESPN. Who else was with you during that event?
Beadle was amazing. We had Shayla, Shelby Coppage on that first one. Yeah, so that was an incredible. April as well was a part of that broadcast. And Michelle Beadle, I still talk to her. She's amazing, just a good person. She is who she is on camera, just as much as she is off camera. So, and I think that's like the mark of a really awesome person. Also, as an interviewer, as a host, she knows how to make people feel comfortable, and I think she was the perfect person to take all these newbies that are on a live pregame show. And when I look back on that, I think, man, the directors must have had a high threshold for stress to put this many new people on camera in this situation, but it all went really well, and it's because she's such a pro.
You've obviously worked with so many greats, and obviously Michelle Beadle is one of those. Did you have a starstruck moment, or have you had that with anybody in the past?
No, I think I'm always of the mindset that we're all going to the same place when we die, you know, and I don't like to pedestal people. I have a whole Buddhist philosophy about that. There's a whole psychological philosophy about that as well. You know, you don't want to pedestal someone else, because then it means you're kind of ranking, and that means you know, I just think we're all here. We're all here, and we're all trying to do the same thing. And I think, you know, I guess it's different when you've grown up watching them on screen. Carly Lloyd was one of those moments where I had to keep it together, you know. But like that, I think that's different because, you know, I saw her on screen all the time growing up. I was a soccer player. Never really thought I would ever meet her either. Yeah. So that was kind of cool just to have, and she was so sweet in that moment, just taking the time to step aside and answer some questions for me in my little social media plug. But yeah, so I think for the most part though, when people who you really look up to, they value that you look up to them, but you don't want to make it weird either, right? So, you know.
It's a good threshold of how to balance that.
Yeah.
And in 2023, you had a chance to go to the FIFA Women's World Cup. Obviously, the video we just saw with Carly Lloyd was an amazing portion of so far your career. Obviously, there's still plenty of bright spots, and you also had a chance to shadow the Fox Sports crew. So I guess kind of my two questions is, how was that experience to be able to shadow that, and who has really taken you under your wing and you've really use them as a mentor, if you will? Yeah, no, it was an absolutely incredible experience. Being able to be there and see all the inner workings. I mean, you see a perfect product on screen, but you don't see everything that goes in behind it. And I was able to sit in on some production meetings. I was able to be there in the middle of the game. You know, you see Carly Lloyd on TV. She goes and watches the game. We're sitting there on stage together watching the game. And then I get off stage, she goes back up and she just gives the whole spiel in about 20, 30 seconds of what we had just talked about for an entire half. That's a really tough thing to do. And it was all seamless. And it was so many people involved. Meantime, they also had a live streaming show going on for their socials. So it was really an incredible thing to see how there was two huge teams right there doing so much. All at the same time. So I'm just really lucky for the people that I have met, a lot of them by happenstance, and it's a lot of those happenstance meetings that keep me in this, because, you know, it's a tough battle, a tough journey sometimes, especially if you don't follow the traditional path like I didn't. You know, I've been a lot of ups and downs and lefts and rights, and so, you know, sometimes I have these moments where I'm like, wow, I'm 100% meant to be doing this, because what are the odds that I just met this person who can help me, you know, or who understands what it's like to struggle from the bottom to the top. So yeah, I've been really grateful to have like a variety of mentors, and that's probably the biggest piece of advice is all you really need is one person to take a chance on you, but it really helps when you have a couple of people who say, you know, you're really trying, and all you need is this. Mm-hmm. All you need is this one thing. Yeah. I think that's what I love listening about anybody's story, whether that's in broadcasting, whether that's outside of it. There's no linear path. I mean, we've talked about your journey. I mean, you're doing yoga, you're doing play-by-play, you're out in the land down under. So, I mean, there's no straight path, but that's what's so inspiring to everybody that's watching this.
Yeah, you know what I will say too is I feel lucky that I started in business and then I went here and there and now I'm here, because I see some people who just had a straight shot or an easy ticket into the hot seat, and there's so much experience that I've gained from the struggle that it shows when you're in those moments, for one, and for two, I feel like I have a very unique perspective on it all. You know, like a good example is Shaq. You know, he went into the NBA, but he was always focused on what other areas of my life can I improve, so that I'm not like 67% of athletes who, when leave professional sports, are broken fighters.
Oh, yeah.
He really made a point to make sure that he's building other areas of life, and because of that, I understand that because I have worked my way there, you know? So yeah.
There's a lot of great advice and a lot of interesting stories you've provided, but I gotta ask you one final time, for anybody who's trying to get into media or sports media, we obviously know it's super competitive to break into that field. What final advice would you have somebody that's looking into getting into it?
Well, I think if you play a sport, you're most likely an expert to some degree. If you've been playing for a long time, especially since you were a kid. So a lot of athletes go right into sports as in the analyst role. And I think it's maybe not just staying in the analyst role, trying to hop into the host role and do a couple different things there. And then if you just grew up around sports and you're passionate and you love it, now it's time to start working on your craft. You know, so if that's what you want, you've got to be the absolute best at craft because the competition's high. And to do that, that means record yourself, get as many reps as possible, get as many reps under high stress as possible. It's different versus I'm going to record a stand-up with my cell phone versus being in the hot seat on a live show, right?
Yeah.
So get as many quality reps as you can. Watch it back, edit, send it out your reel to as many people as possible, and then get people you trust to give you feedback, people whose work you value to give you feedback. And then, you know, I think that's how you end up growing, because sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. But you can kind of leapfrog a little bit faster if you have people willing to help you give you some of that guidance.
Well, Katie, I mean, you provided so much guidance, I mean, for everybody, for myself, honestly, with everything you've told. Is there anything else that you wanted anybody to know about your broadcasting career?
Well, I've got some cool stuff coming up with Major League Soccer, so that's one of my latest announcements. This weekend, I'm flying out to Sarasota. I'll be commentating the Generation Adidas tournament, and I'll also be calling an MLS Next Pro game, so you'll see some stuff on MLS YouTube, and then you'll see some stuff on Apple TV with me. So I'm really excited about that little gig I have going on coming up here next. And I also just want to say thanks to all the people who took it on me here, who trusted me with their broadcasts and to get all the reps, and the advisors here who also allowed me to ebb and flow. They understand the grind that comes with being GA here at UIW. And if for them, I may not have walked across the stage, honestly, because they really kept me with my head in the game. That and my family, of course. So, and thank you, of course, for your.
Okay, I gotta say thank you, because I mean, you did such a great job that it's allowed this GA position to move onward. So I should be thanking you for the opportunity to keep this. So
Yeah.
Katie, thanks so much today, and I look forward to seeing how much more and looking forward to seeing you at the highest stage.
I appreciate it. Fingers crossed.
Well, thank you, Katie. Once again, Katie Goodman, Joey Gonzales, and this has been your newest episode of Alumni Corner.